Welcome to the One in the Shibal podcast with Susie and Ed.
We're just two Asian Americans talking shit about shit.
And yes, we are flipped today.
If you noticed, we're not sitting in our usual configuration, which can only mean one thing, but we'll get to that in a second. Hi, Ed. How was your week? Oh, my neck hurts. I slept weird, so my neck hurts. So I'm like, hello. And that's also contributing to my foul. I've been in a very foul mood all day. My neck fucking hurts. How was your...
I'm laughing because in my head I'm going, karma. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I knew that was going to make it right.
Okay.
It was good. It was okay. It was really warm this week.
Yeah.
It was like, I think the last bit of the hot weather right before summer ends. And if this is going to make you feel better from the last 5 seconds, my AC broke down.
Ha
2 days ago on the hottest of that
thing. Worst,
on the day it was 95.
I actually don't wish that on you.
My AC in the beginning of the day was like, nope.
Bitch, no.
Yeah, and I was like, well, because the night before it wasn't working either. But then it wasn't until that morning that I realized that the exhaust fan thing outside, you know, that air compressor, whatever thing, the fan exploded.
Oh.
Yeah, so it just like wasn't
just blades just shot out of
the
the
blade
thing?
literally broke in half and half of it was sitting outside.
Oh no.
Yeah. And like the
How
whole
much
thing
do you fucking use that thing?
barely.
Jesus.
But it is 10 years old.
Oh.
And her landlord has never serviced it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Whatever. You didn't service it. Now we get a new one, right?
Yay.
And then we got it yesterday. So we were
good.
AC-less for one day, but that one day
it's of course the hottest day. It's always then.
It got to be like 92 degrees in our house. I think I took a photo of the thermostat when it was at 90 degrees, and I was like, oh my God.
I work in the Valley, so I do that in my car. Whenever I get in my car and it says like 120, I'm like, I have to take a picture. I'm like, who am I going to show this to? Why would I take a picture of it? But I'm like, just in case. Just in case. I have to commemorate how hot and uncomfortable I am. Yeah. Somebody has to know.
Somebody has to know.
If nothing more, my Google Photos should commemorate this for eternity. That's what's important.
And I was like texting my landlord being like, so I'm okay being warm, but like, I'm really scared my dog's going to get heat exhaustion. So like, please do this ASAP.
No, but even you as a human can say like, this is unacceptable.
No, I was, but like, I really was trying to be like, look, there is a helpless dog, you know, because sometimes I can be a little abrasive to my landlords. And like, you know, just want to make sure that like, you know, they do their stuff.
He must have been so surprised. He's like, this fucking guy's
But recently I've been learning that honey bees or whatever that you
catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. I think that's it. Yes. Flies, yes.
Although, which is a weird thing because I hear vinegar catches flies pretty well.
Fruit flies.
Oh.
But you also have to mix in yeast with it.
Oh.
And soap.
I didn't hear the yeast part.
Yes. So the yeast, it bubbles, and I think is what releases the gas that attracts, which is like the same types of gas that like really ripe fruit emits, which is why you get fruit flies when like a peach is about to go bad.
Yeah.
See, food science. I've always been interested.
Yeah.
And so the bubbles, you know, make it, you know, burst, and then it releases into the air, and then they come in, and then they go into the vinegar, and then they get stuck with the soap, and then.
Yeah, see, I put in a little bit of apple cider vinegar into a plastic cup like 2 weeks ago, and then like even put a paper cone around it because you know I hear that helps trap them. Didn't catch one, but now it makes sense.
Yeah, you got to do the other stuff too.
Yeah, the yeast helps with the smell, huh? Because every time I came like 20 feet close to it, I kept being like
nostril.
Oh yeah, it was like, you know that apple cider vinegar smell like burns your nostrils,
you, like, right in the back of the throat.
But it also has this like sweet smell to it.
That's why the flies like it. We're back to the flies. Yes. Yes.
How was your week?
Great.
I'm scared to,
the week was fine. Today was just annoying. My garage door broke, and it's like a thing, and it's, you know, when I was saying this last week, it's like when one thing goes wrong, I just feel like everything goes wrong. So like I have an electric car, and the charger cord is in the garage, and I was low on battery, and I was intending to charge the car today, and then I couldn't, and then my schedule is so tight that I don't have time to go and get it charged, and it's nobody cares about this. I'm so sorry. Nobody cares about this.
I care. I was just holding my breath the whole time. I was like,
you know, so it's just like when one of the wheels falls off, it feels like the whole fucking thing falls off. But I'm more focused now. This week is the week of my eldest daughter's 12th birthday.
Preteen.
Dun, dun, dun. Not cry about it. Because like this is her last official year before her teenage years. And she is a great kid. She's an incredible kid. But she's really very she really knows who she is. But she's like me. She's very much like me. She's really smart. She's really headstrong. She's really confident. But she has a really hard time regulating her emotions. She has a really hard time with admitting when she's wrong. She has a really hard, these are skills I had to learn.
Yeah.
So she's starting at 0, and has to kind of like learn as she goes. But she told me we're planning her party, and we're like, oh, we'll have a party, yeah. So she's like, I was like, we'll have a party, we'll have people come over, and she's like, it's kind of corny, Mom. And I was like, oh, no more like birthday cake parties in the backyard. I was like, okay, well, what do you want to do instead?
Oh, that's so sad.
And she's like, why don't we do a tour of Koreatown? And I was like, oh, that sounds way better. That sounds so fun. So we're gonna do like Korean corn dogs. And she wants to go to noraebang. She wants to go to like sing karaoke, and then I think we're gonna go pet, like bingsu after. So, so she wants to show all of her non-Korean friends, a little bit of Koreatown, a little bit of her culture. And I was like, that's so cool. Okay, that sounds actually way more fun, and I don't have to clean up because it won't be at home. So that's even better. So
has she ever been to a noraebang?
No, but she has sang karaoke at my parents' house a bunch.
Yeah.
So, we even have a little karaoke thing at my house.
Yeah.
But never like noraebang, never like in the place with like the lights and the screens and all the microphones. And a couple of her friends love K-pop, and one of her friends aspires to be like a professional performer. So this is gonna be.
And now Super Shy.
I already called it. I already called it. I was like, I'm telling you right now, I call that song, and she's like, you're going to call that song? You're not going to let my friends sing that song? I was like,
no, it's fine.
They can sing backup, but that's it. I'm the fucking lead on that one, all right? I'm taking the top. Fuck you guys. I don't care if you're all 12.
Susie the Toki now. That's the name of their fandom.
Oh, it is? Mm-hmm. Why?
I don't know.
What's the band called?
New Jeans.
And then Bunnies?
Their fandom is Toki or Bunnies.
Well, I was born in the year of the rabbit anyway, so this all makes sense. And so is my daughter.
Oh.
We're both rabbits.
That's very serendipitous, the right word to use here? I don't know, but that's very nice.
Cool. It's nice. it's very
nice.
Nice. So nice. Yeah, that's
Dang, but that is a little sad.
I know. I'm trying to like be really happy about it, and that she's growing up, and she's growing up to be so great. But at the same time, you as you grow up, you suffer these like little like lost things, like all the last times, right?
Yeah.
So like.
They just like need you a little less as they need you more.
They need you in different ways,
yes.
Right? Like now, like she needs me to support her emotionally. And I always have, but like in different ways, right? Like so-and-so already has a boyfriend, and so-and-so already has this social media, and so-and-so said that, so it's different. It's different.
I was just about to be like, at least she gave you a buffer year before she was like, I want a co-ed birthday party. You know what I mean?
I actually encouraged it.
Out of it.
I was like, do you want to invite any of the boys from class? She's like, no, I'm good. But the thing is she's gone to the same school since kindergarten. So she's now in 6th grade. So these boys they're basically like her brothers. So she's like, if I can have some time without them, I would love that. Because they're also at an age where they're very annoying.
Very annoying.
So fucking
That's
annoying.
How they're flirting.
Oh my God. I don't know what it is. But they annoy the shit out of me. I can't imagine how they feel in class with them all day. Oh my God.
Yeah, like the girl that I had a crush on in 7th grade, I used to be like, you have Mount Vesuvius on your nose, because she had like a pimple.
That's mean.
Yeah, that was really mean. But that was
so
like
obnoxious.
My way of being like, I like you.
She's like, you have my fist in your nose.
Yeah.
Fuck you up. And I think that's why, like, these girls, this generation of girls, they're all like, so my daughter and her friends are going to be elder Gen Alphas, right? So she was born the first year of Gen Alpha.
Oh, wow.
So if the year that she was born is any indication as to how the girls of Gen Alpha are going to be, I am like, so excited to see what the future brings, because these girls are all so smart and confident and like take no shit, and they are so quick to like stand up for themselves, and like it's a new breed, this generation. Like they're gonna eat Gen Z up. Like, you know how like millennials and Gen Zers are always fighting about whatever, like Gen Alpha will leave nothing of Gen Z when it's time.
There was this I forget who it was. I saw this video where they were like, it was a millennial making it. And they were like, oh, I'm getting used to like Gen Z slang. And they were like, yeah. And then like all these Gen Z slangs come up. And then both of them, the millennial and the Gen Z look. And it's like Gen Alpha coming in with like some random word. And they're both like,
No, and that's it. That's exactly it. So somebody was saying something like, I'm Gen X, so I'm like, whatever, you guys can all fight it out. I don't give a fuck. None of us give a shit. And she says, I think it was like one of her like older, one of her like friends, older siblings, who's like much older, and she goes, "Oh my god, it's so cringe." They're like, "Oh, is it cringe?" And I was like, "Oh, that's so good." They're like, "Oh, are you cringing?"
Yeah,
and just making fun of it.
When
so
like the smart
funny.
aleck young kids become the not young kids anymore, because it's a circle of life.
Yeah, they're scary. They're so scary.
All I know is that as a millennial, people can't stop talking about us. Like when we were in our teenagers and early 20s, it was like the boomers and the Gen Xers being like, millennials. And now the Gen Zs are like, millennials. And we're like, when are people going to stop obsessing about us?
Gen X doesn't give a shit, in case you were wondering. It's the boomers. Gen X were like, we're all behind the building smoking cigarettes. We don't give a fuck what you guys are doing. You do whatever you want.
Or at the time, they were like, we're starting to have kids. We have no idea what we're doing. So like, fuck you guys. We don't care.
I got little kids. I got old aging parents. Like, I'm too busy. I can't do any of this.
We don't care.
Fight with whoever the fuck you want. I don't
us millennials, we're like, we're scared to have kids.
We can't buy houses and thing. So like, if you guys want to duke it out on, stuff like that, feel free.
We have the time because we don't know how to have anything. We can't have anything. The world won't let us. But other than that, it was good?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I remember being like 11, 12, and I think the first time I went to a noraebang was in Korea with like my family. Yeah.
I had never been to like an official noraebang until I was in college.
Really?
I didn't know any Korean people, and then I got to college and I met a lot of Korean people. And
Korean people love karaoke. I mean, like Asian people love. We are amazing singers. Let's just leave it there.
But we're second to the Filipinos.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Like it's a thing.
It is.
I saw a video and I like, it was this man singing Celine Dion. I'll show it to you, and it was incredible. Somebody was saying he out Celine Dion to Celine Dion.
Yeah, there was
not a joke.
There was a video of this. I believe she was a trans woman performer, and I guess Taylor Swift didn't go to the Philippines this tour. So this trans woman put on this like her own Eras concert.
No way.
In like I think it was like in a park or something. And like it went viral.
Really?
Yeah, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing. Who needs Taylor Swift when we have her?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yes. No, we love our karaoke. Yeah. We all love our karaoke. So yeah, I'm excited to have them experience it for the first time. The only thing
is, be like a core memory for her. I think
so. I don't know though, because some of my favorite parts about going to karaoke. I mean, obviously, I'm not advocating for alcoholism, but like the drinking and just getting shit faced with your friends and singing loud and bad is part of the fun. So we'll just,
It's funny for someone like me to watch that happen because like I will sing before I get drunk because I just have no shame. But like a lot of people need to get drunk.
Definitely need at least 3 drinks in before I can actually sing and like not care. And even then I still kind of care.
I'm the friend at karaoke who'll sing the first or second song.
Oh, good.
All the while making everyone take shots because I like want everyone to be where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Good.
Like,
you're a good host. That's good. That's good. That's what hosts should do.
Or an enabler. Depends on the situation.
What lens are you looking through it at? But today we have a really exciting guest that we've been waiting to have on, and we're so excited that he agreed to be on today. And I think we're going to talk about some really important topics that I think a lot of people will resonate with, or it'll actually bring, I think, a lot of light to something that some people don't even think about.
Right. Yeah. I grew up going to schools that had a lot of transracial adoptees, and I know that a lot of transracial adoptees really, the show resonates with them because, I feel like we talk about a lot of things that they're not included in. And I feel like a lot of the Asian diaspora or even just the immigrant diaspora really is very encompassing of all of our experiences, even if it may not fit exactly. The square is still a square.
But I think first and foremost, I think we've done this before, but we should definitely, define what transracial adoptee means.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't understand what that term is, especially if you don't know anyone that is.
Yes. And then people like Ollie London helped confuse the word transracial.
Right. So transracial adoptee is when a baby or child is adopted from a country and then placed with a family that is from a different country. So for instance, the guest we have on today is Korean born. Korean person that was adopted into a non-Korean family here in the United States,
Right.
a white family. So that is what we mean when we say transracial adoptee. We do not mean transracial people because that does not exist. Changing your race is not something that you can do. So that is not what we at all mean, nor will that be what we were talking about today.
Ever.
Or ever.
Yeah.
Unless
probably
we're
ever.
talking shit about Ollie London, which I think he's now not.
I lost track so long ago between I want to be Jimin, I don't want to be Jimin, now I want to be a different race, now back to Korean.
He wanted to be a woman for a while too. Then he was like, I'm transracial and trans, and now I'm not neither of those, and now I'm Christian, and I don't know. I don't know.
He's just ruining so many communities in just like one.
I don't even know. Yeah. I don't even know. Nor do I care.
But our guest today isn't someone that you're not unfamiliar with. So you may have caught him every once in a while fixing the lights behind us. I don't know why we're laughing. It's not a funny thing.
I think it's
we're
funny
not laughing at them.
No, we're not laughing at them. We're laughing at the fact that we fuck up so much and they have to clean up our mess all the time.
Our guest today is actually our executive producer, Ron.
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 Our guest, Ron. His name is just Ron. Singular Ron.
Yeah.
One Ron.
I almost said his last name and then was like, I don't know if he wants it. But either way, his name is Ron. He is our executive producer. He's my best friend. We met at one of my last previous jobs as a recruiter. Just kidding. Respect to all the recruiters out there. I just can't do it. But he's my best friend. He is a transracial adoptee. He was born in Korea and was adopted by two amazing, loving parents who happen to be white. And he is coming on here to share some of his experiences so that a lot of our transracial adoptee listeners, so that you guys can feel like your experiences, maybe some of them will match up, and
and again, for people who have no experience with it,
yes.
I think a lot of people really don't have any insight into it whatsoever. And I think I can say that up until pretty recently, I was one of them. So we're really lucky to have Ron join us today. Come on, Ron.
Come on down.
Come on down, Ron. Today we have Ron. I was like, oh, is that your cute nickname for Ron?
I was like, Ron
dinner. Ron, did you pay the phone bill this month? Hi, Ron.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on
the show. Thanks for having me on this side.
Is it weird being on this side?
It really is, actually, yeah.
Welcome to our world, asshole.
The first time I did, I was like, what am I doing with my time right now? But
this is called anxiety.
There's nothing to be anxious about. It's just a couple of Asian Americans talking shit about shit. It's no big deal.
Hard questions.
So, okay. Well, I don't want to. Okay. So, obviously, first and foremost, I want to say if there are obviously any questions that you feel uncomfortable answering, or if you're like, you know what, that might be a little too personal, please feel free to say it. Like, we don't want to, encroach on your boundaries, obviously. But I don't know, where do you start something like this? So, tell us about where you were born. Where were your what happened? What happened? How do you start that? You know what I mean? Like, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, so I was born in Korea, and I was adopted at 3 months old, and by two Caucasian white parents, very white. My parents are from Ohio and Pennsylvania, so it's like even the whiter states
for white people.
Yeah. And no, you can really ask me anything. I've always been very open about it, and even like I've noticed, even when I bring it up to people, it makes them more uncomfortable than like I do. But also, I think that's also my parents have also been very open about it. Very like, hey, you're adopted. This is where you're from. Like, if you want to discover, but also too, looking in a mirror, it's not hard to tell that I'm adopted.
Right. Well, so when you're a baby, right, and you're growing up, you just kind of know your surroundings, your environment. Like, when did you start to feel and understand, like, oh, I am not like my parents. We're different. And like,
was it something that you realized, or something that external forces, like other people, made you realize?
Right. I mean, with my parents always being open about it and having the discussions literally from as far as back as I can remember, I think right away. Also, too, though, like, there was this one moment where we would travel to Ohio to visit family, and we got a flat tire, and we got stuck in West Virginia while it was getting fixed. And I think I was like five or six, and like again, I understood it, but we went to the mall to wait for like Sears to fix the tire.
Like
and,
you do.
yeah. and I remember.
For those of you that don't know, Sears was like kind of like Costco, but not as Costco-y back in the day.
Right.
Yeah, not wholesale, yeah. But I remember we were sitting in the mall waiting for the tire to get fixed, and all these families were staring at me and my parents, just staring, like blatantly. We were sitting on a bench, and they would just, their whole neck would cock back while they're walking by. And I was like, what is, I was like a little snarky kid, so I was like, take a picture, it'll last longer. And then like later it soaked in. I was like, oh, it's because I'm probably the first Asian person they've seen, and I'm with white parents. So like,
was your sister there with you?
I was just saying, do you have any siblings?
Yeah, my sister was there. She's also adopted from Korea.
Is she your biological sister?
No, she's not.
Okay.
Which we do get asked a lot too.
They don't not look alike. They look alike enough where they could be siblings.
But that's also like,
that's
is
all
that
of us.
racist?
No. I mean, I
was like, you could.
No, I think the two of you guys could pass for siblings.
No, we could though. We do look similar. And maybe we were. We'd have to get that.
I don't think you
test or whatever. I don't know, but probably not.
Oh.
But yeah, that was probably the moment where I was like, oh, well, I realized that like, one, I'm adopted, and two, like people
notice,
realize, and like it's maybe weird to them, it's different to them.
People notice and aren't afraid of letting me know that they noticed.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Well, so let's get back to your sister then. So is your sister older or younger than you?
She's 3 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
And she was adopted, I think, at like 4 months, really early as well.
What made your parents, choose adoption?
So my mother couldn't like physically have babies. And so back then, she wanted babies. She's very motherly. So, and they decided to do adoption.
Yeah, through Korea. So there was a huge adoption boom.
Yeah, it was, I guess, mid-ish 80s is when
late 70s to
Korea
like
was
mid-80s.
trending for the babies. Yeah.
Do you know your parents' motivation for why they adopted Korean kids? Was it the ease, the price?
I don't know. I mean, I know I was expensive.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I know they really sacrificed a lot for me. But I think all I know is I don't know if I was in a book with other races, but my mom said she picked me out of a book of like over 500 kids.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so your older sister is 3 years older than you. So do you both know your Korean history? Like where you were born, who your parents are? I know a lot of adoptees want to know, and a lot of adoptees don't care to know.
Knowing what Ron is about to say, that was a really good question. This is where the drama comes.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I am familiar with it. She's a little bit familiar with where she comes from. She didn't. She actually wanted to find out, I think, more than I did. I was cool with it. Like, these are my parents. That's all I've known my whole life. Matter. I love them. They love me. Like, I didn't have that, like, itch or inkling to, like, seek them out, like, that Found show on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
So I was always okay with it. If it was easy and like, it was lined up, I would meet them. But, and, like, that's where it's also tough, too, like, because it was older before internet, like they could lie on the forms and they would never know. Like, so basically I said my mom was a nurse and my dad was a taxi cab driver, which I would have thought they would have. I mean, nurse, I understand, but maybe, and nothing against taxi cab drivers, but I'm like, if you can lie, like, why not be like, oh, I'm a doctor or something, you know?
I'm president of Korea.
Yeah, I'm king of Korea.
Well, she might have filled out the form and lied about herself and was like, oh, yeah, he's a taxi driver.
Yeah, that's true. So one could be true, one could be not, both could be.
Do you have, like, their names and information?
We have their names. So actually, we were talking about this in front of Ed's mom, and since we're really close, she's like, before the store, we opened our art gallery and clothing brand. She's like, you know what? Let's go to Korea. And
she was already in Korea at the time.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then we're like, okay. So it was a really amazing trip. But we actually then visited where I was held as a baby for like
the adoption agency.
yeah, like
For 3
before I
months
was
before
like
you were-
flown out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the photo before the parents get them,
Yeah.
like at the adoption agency, like we went there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really
And
crazy.
the person that adopted him out, I don't know if that's the correct lingo to say. If it's offensive, I'm very sorry. I don't mean it. But the person who like
Facilitated the adoption.
Yeah, facilitated his adoption was there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it
Wait,
was really crazy.
was your sister in the same place? She was 3 years older than
She
you.
was in a different place actually, and hers they don't have as much records
Yeah.
for, which is like kind of upsetting for her because she wanted to like find out more than I did.
That's the drama that
And
I was
there's
talking about.
there's like
No.
less
His-
information.
His sister does have that.
Just burning desire to know.
She has like a hole she wants to fill with the knowledge, and her information got lost. Whereas Ron, the one who doesn't care as much, has all the information.
They had
that
my
he
file. I
needs,
like
yeah.
took a picture with
It's,
my
like, really
file.
sad.
Oh,
Yeah.
And like
no.
I think her picture, I forget if her picture's with her mom as a baby, but I think mine's with
the facilitator.
like at the
Yeah.
adoption agency. Yeah. So
Wait,
we don't I
your
don't have a picture.
sister's first photo is with her
I
actual mom?
believe so, yeah. Which is I think maybe plays into that because I was like, well, I don't have a picture of my mom, so but I think she does. So it's like she's like, oh,
Maybe that
that's
feels
my
different.
mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Where I'm not making a joke about it, but yeah, it's
But you're
just
just
like
not as
different.
attached
Yeah,
to it,
yeah.
to the idea.
Yeah.
Because you don't have like physical evidence of
That
her.
and again,
slash like his parents gave him everything he needed.
Yeah.
that and I think I can see why there may be issues with someone that's adopted at an older age, but again, like I don't remember past like maybe 4 or 5 like
seriously.
anything. So like it's really all I know.
Well, so did your parents? So a lot of adoptees have, of course, as all children do, have very different life experiences, right? Some of us culturally are like immersed in our cultures, like Ed was, and others of us are less so, like me. But since your parents were not even Korean, did you get to experience anything Korean growing? And you didn't grow up in a predominantly Asian area. It sounds like there were very little to no Asian people at all anyway. So did they make an effort to try to teach you more about your Koreanness?
They did actually. A memory that sticks out is we went all around with my mom because we were trying to find. She like sews and stuff, and she was trying to find traditional garb for a pattern for us so we could like experience that. I think there was like a festival thing that she wanted to try to get it for us, but it ended up being like, no one shares the patterns and it's like crazy expensive.
Humble
So
patterns
yeah,
are hard to come by.
so we didn't end up doing
like
it, but like
pre-internet days.
Yeah.
yeah, so that
You can't just
and-
like go to Joann's and be like, hey, do you have a pattern for this
Yeah,
traditional Korean hanbok?
Nor was there like Etsy's and stuff where people would be happy to do that.
Sure.
For,
Right,
yeah.
right.
But yeah, so they did the best they could again, like without having internet. They tried to like, it was more on me, I think, because I grew up in such a white area. Like I was not, I didn't like one necessarily quote unquote care about it, and two like like a lot of probably transracial adoptees, I didn't want to be Asian in a way, yeah. So like the first experience, they always they got all the books, got any movies they could to show me. They asked me if we wanted to do anything, go to all these different like very like any Asian festival, the like few there were where I'm from, yeah. And like I really didn't experience the food until middle school. There's like 8 other Asian kids in my class. I graduated with over 600 kids, and there was
In
like
your grade?
in my grade, yeah. And there was like like 20 Asian kids total at the time.
And that's to say, like they probably weren't all Korean. Too.
No,
so
but
it's like
that's
a
like
mix of them.
Yeah, that's like about the same as my high school. Maybe if not more Asians at your high school.
Maybe it was actually, yeah. And then again, too, even like back to the one episode, I was rivals with them all. I wasn't friends with them. One sat behind me and we always pinched each other's fingers in a chair and we hated each other.
Fuck.
Yeah, but we ended up being friends in high school, which was funny. But yeah, so like I didn't really hang out. There was the Asian Mafia, which was like 3 that actually hung out together, which everyone referred to them as. And like, so they hung out. But yeah, in middle school, finally the one was Korean I made friends with, and he invited me over, and they made like pork and everything. And
They
introduced me, and like, that was the first time I'm like, whoa, you all eat out of the same bowl? Like, that's
It must
weird.
have been,
Yeah.
wow.
That's something Ron still has a hard time with. Sometimes like we'll laugh at him because like me and my mom are eating out of the bowl and Ron like scoops it on his plate. I'm like, Oh, that's funny.
But I also like to mix things in with my rice.
Sure,
So
sure.
I like, I'm not like against it.
Yeah.
I'm just
God, but
like,
that must be such a like strange experience, right? Like me growing up Korean, I grew up with Korean people in my house. You know what I mean? So I saw Korean people all the time. So when I walked outside of my house, I knew that I was different than them because of what I experienced at home. But like that must be like, what am I trying to say? Like to not have grown up feeling Korean because you didn't, but knowing that you visually look Korean to the outside, but you're not as Korean as people think you are and like observe you to be, like that must be like a really interesting experience. Like to walk around like, I don't know, like to like walk into a mall, like you were saying, and have people stare at you and like not be like, what are you guys staring at? You know what I mean?
It was always in my face. It was like
Yeah.
always something. Like I remember going to this deli with my friend, and the one worker there was like Korean. He goes, "You Korean? I can see it a mile away." And I was like, and like my friend started laughing, and I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Cool." Another like, it's like cool to relate. And then like, and I really noticed like all like older Korean women, or a lot of just older Korean people, if they do see me, they'll speak to me in Korean. And I'm like, I'm not that Korean, you know, like
Never mind, be honest. I'm always like, a little uncomfortable.
My aunts who can speak English speak Korean to Ron.
And Ron's like, about that.
Yeah.
I just act like,
They just keep
totally.
repeating.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is even when they recognize it, they'll just repeatedly say it in Korean.
But just a little
until
louder.
I think Ron kind of understands what they're asking.
Yeah. It's really funny. Then they go, "Oh, you understood." And
Like,
but they say that in English.
Context clues.
You have spoonful of food and you're putting it on my plate. Okay, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
Oh, you understood.
Did you ever resent it?
Being adopted?
Yeah. Or not being adopted, but just being adopted by people who weren't Korean. Just did it make it seem like it was more, did it complicate your life?
Even if it wasn't resentment at your parents, just like at the situation.
At the idea, yeah.
I would say, so like it's hard because like, I have a strong understanding that if I stayed in Korea, I'd be like really poor. Like we saw where I came from, I would be like a country Korean, like working in the fields and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, like, and then I also know that my life over here, like I'm blessed, or it's been amazing. I try not to take it for granted because like I'm very appreciative. Like I played ice hockey, which is very white sport.
Very expensive and white.
I snowboarded. So like, I'm so happy about it. But I feel like, yes, sometimes I'm like, it would have been easier. Yeah, like I wouldn't get all this random hate and racism. I wouldn't like be like growing up. Cause like, I'm sure a lot of adoptees too, they like feel like maybe they don't know themselves fully, where like I felt like maybe not like a whole, but like maybe it would be different. Things might be easier for me in certain ways, or in other ways where, like, I don't know, I just not get all this weird racism and weirdness, you know.
I follow and I'm friends with a lot of transracial adoptees, and something that I think is a very common theme that I hear from them is that you don't feel like you necessarily belong at home, but you don't necessarily feel like you belong outside of home. You know what I mean? And you don't necessarily, but like when you're being spoken to in Korean, you don't feel like you belong there. But when you know you're talking to a non-Korean person and they look at you as, you know, an Asian person, even though you didn't grow up as, you know, in Asian ways, you don't feel like you belong there. You know what I mean? So, and what's interesting is like, I have felt that in certain instances, and I came from a Korean family. So I can relate on some level, but I mean, maybe you can elaborate on like, did you ever feel like that?
Yeah, like all the time actually. Cause like I wasn't Korean or Asian enough to hang out with like the Korean or Asian kids. Yeah, the mafia, yeah. And then like when like I'm with all my friends, like it was all my friends were white or Caucasian.
But then they made it known to you that you were not.
You know,
you were different, or are they good about
I'm actually very lucky. My friends, for the most part, like everyone had their jokes here and there, but like they really kept them at bay. The weirdest time was probably when we were playing poker, and my one friend did say something like, "Whoa, like easy, we're just," like it was like high school, and we're like, "Hey, kind of take it easy." And he's like, "What? We're all white here?" And like we all looked around, we're like, yeah. And then we're like, wait. a second, yeah. And like we laughed, and like yeah. And like that was when I was like, wait, that is kind of weird. So like they've always been very accepting of me because actually then my close friend, he's like adopted from Guatemala, and so he's very brown, and like it's him, he has the same situation where clearly he's adopted with his family. So like I feel like our group of friends, like we're very accepting, but at the same time, like yeah, like I've like when we're out with other people, it's gets randomly brought up or something that I'm Asian, and like I'm not white enough for all the white people, I'm not Asian enough for the Asian people, I'm always stuck in between. So yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to have this conversation, is because I think that Asian diaspora, whether you're Asian American or you're an immigrant here, it's like a very similar feelings and like experiences that we go through that may be different, but like have a very similar effect on us. Because I know like one of the first times I met Ron's parents, his mother told me stories before he was even able to speak or be physically aware. Like, I don't know if you want to tell them.
Yeah, so we got all sorts of like ridiculous questions like, are you going to teach them English or are like
versus
yeah. Are you going to?
Am I supposed to learn Korean and teach them like Korean?
Yeah.
They don't. It's not a programming. They don't come with like an installed programming, and then you
take
just
the chip out. Like, oh,
then you like pick the language. Like when you start up your iPhone, it's like English or Korean. It's like they're humans. They learn what you teach them.
We got that. Are you going to tell them they're adopted?
It's your 18th birthday, Ron. We want to tell you something.
Look, we have this secret.
You're a man now. We want you to know something about yourself that you might not have known.
That, like I think I got a lot of my snarkiness from my mom. She's like, we have mirrors. Like they're going to catch on after a while, even if we don't. Like, and it's just a lot of random, like stupid, like you would think would be common sense, but it's apparently not. Like questions, and so we got all sorts of that questions.
It's typically a reason because people don't humanize you. They like look at you as this like thing
object
they don't understand.
Something
like they
take an ownership
approach it. Yeah, they approach it with being like, I'm not going to understand this. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Or like they'd be like, you know, like the common one, like, oh, you got a Korean one. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
And also too, like, if you think about it, which I think is a big part of it too, is like my parents like literally picked me out of hundreds of versus like stuck with whatever comes out. So like to me, I always
still
felt
stuck with you.
Yeah,
they're still stuck with you.
They know refunds, but for sure, like it made me feel more. I actually felt more special that I was adopted than like people are like, oh, you're like a leftover or like a forgotten about or like your parents didn't want you. I'm like, you know, it like say what you will, but like you don't know their situation. Like they literally couldn't afford me. I might not even be alive at this point or like so like I'm feel very like lucky, very like special in that sense. Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the name of the place, but when we looked up his paperwork, Ron's parents came from like a really small fishing town, like in the countryside.
Yeah. I have, not to divert the conversation, but I have a friend on TikTok who just recently found out through her adoption agency that her biological parents were actually married and had 2 sons, and they had to give her up because they were poor.
Oh.
And so now knowing that, and she hasn't met them yet, but now knowing that, you know, it just raises so many questions for her. Like, if they had more money, I would have been with them. I would have been in their family, and they had to. And she also starts to kind of think about it from the perspective of her birth mother, the pain that she must have gone through to endure having to give up your child because you simply cannot afford them. Not because you don't want them, not because you don't love them or because you don't want to raise them, but because you literally just don't have the financial means. And that must be gut wrenching. And I think that's a lot of the story that I think doesn't get talked about is you're not just throwing away kids willy-nilly just because you don't want them. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have to do them because their circumstances are so dire that there's no way around that.
And like specifically with Korea, right around that time, like the 70s and 80s, there was a push by the government to adopt kids out.
Yes.
I think
that's a whole nother thing.
That is a whole nother thing.
Some very shady shit.
Very shady stuff. I think some of it boiled down to the fact that they were like, if we get rid of them, the government doesn't have to support them.
Right.
So there was a lot of that. There was a push by the government to adopt out a lot of Korean kids as well. So some of the families who maybe would have been able to figure it out were pushed to believe that they wouldn't be able to afford their kid. So that could have been an instance as well.
So Do you think, are you trying to learn more about being your Koreanness or more about like,
Shit, I've been
the
making
culture,
him
the
even
lang-
if he doesn't want to.
you're like, eat this kimchi, motherfucker.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to make you Korean from the inside out.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't actually have to do much.
yeah, I mean, Korean food is so good.
So good.
Yeah, it's so
Right?
good.
Like-
And like even when like Ed's mom's in town or whatever, she'll make something and I'll be like, oh my God, and I'll eat like all of it. And she's like, yep, he's Korean on the inside.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's biological.
Like tenjanchi and stuff. Like,
Delicious.
stuff that like
So not like
yes,
the
the
easy
stuff,
stuff.
like the non-Koreans typically are like, oh, I don't know. Ron's like, rah, rah, and my mom's like, yep, he's Korean. Yeah.
It's your DNA.
Yeah, and so I embrace that. The language, Ed tried to teach me some, and Ed's like, it's really frustrated easily. So I was like, screw it. I don't want to learn.
I've gotten better.
Yeah.
You can come to my house and do Duolingo with my
Oh
daughter.
yeah, you're going to Korea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do Duolingo or like try, but like slowly, I'm just trying to like slowly kind of like if I hear something like that's brought up a lot.
I have gotten better. I just want to point that out. Like sometimes I'll be like tenjanchi, I'll be like tenjanchi, I'll be like tenjanchi.
Yeah. Or at first I was like, why can't your mouth make that noise? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
I have a hard time with
I
it.
wasn't
Some's hard.
No,
Yeah.
some of it's hard too because language is a skill that is developed over time, right? Especially from childhood. So when I was little, I spoke Korean almost exclusively. And then when my grandmother passed away when I was like 11 or my grandfather passed away when I was like, 11 or 12, she moved out of our house. So I just wasn't speaking Korean as much. There are definitely words and syllables that I have a really hard time saying. Like
Yeah.
my mouth doesn't do
Just
it.
doesn't move that
I
way.
want to, I try, but then there are other words that are really easy for me. Like I can almost speak Spanish easier than I can speak Korean sometimes. It's just because the way my mouth.
Sometimes it's like a weird thing, but like there's this girl in ITZY, that girl group. Her name's Ryujin.
What is it?
Ryujin. And her name in English is spelled like Ryujin. And like I couldn't figure out how to say that word until I saw her name in Korean. And I was like, oh, Ryujin. And I was like, wait, what?
Oh, like in
Wait,
Street Fighter.
What? Yeah.
There's a character, Ryu.
Yeah.
We everybody said Ryu.
Ryu.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's Ryu.
You see, that's hard. Like when it gets stuck in my mouth, I'm like, it just won't come out.
But like in Korean, it's like Ryu with like a U. And I was
Ryujin.
like, oh, Ryu.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Or even
That's-
like the B's and kind of P sounding like the energy drink, bakasa. And-
Bakasa.
yeah, they're like, no, I get corrected like every time I'm like, oh, I'd like a bakasa. And they're like, no, it's like,
Bakas.
Yeah.
D.
Bakas.
yeah. And like just the different, or like, I'm like, are they saying yay or day?
Yeah.
Right. I was
And-
teaching my daughters par. They're like, what? I was like, par.
Pie.
And they're like, what? Or pe and pe. I was like, pear and stomach. They're like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah.
Pe. They're like, that's too much. What? I don't understand. I'm like, listen, this is way easier than learning English.
English is actually
Trust me.
way more convoluted, to be honest. But
I mean, could, would, and should. My mom's like,
There,
that
there,
L
there.
is so dumb. Why?
yeah.
But even she's like, even the O. Why is the O and the L there? It should be SHUD. Should. I'm like, oh, okay. I get it. I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, regardless if Ron wanted to or not, I've been like, I don't know if I want to say like making it my mission, but like every time I get a chance to try to introduce him to stuff, like for instance, like Ron like 6 years ago refused to watch anything that had subtitles in it. Now he's watching like K-dramas on his own. Like I'll walk into a room and be like, are you watching a Korean show? And he's like, yeah, it's hilarious. And I'm like,
well, I think probably though, as a younger Korean adoptee, it was probably a little bit more difficult. But now as Korean culture, language, music, entertainment as a whole kind of has entered the diaspora, like in the United States, it probably makes it a little bit easier for you to want to, but also even have access to, or to like know even what's out there.
yeah, I think location made it a lot easier too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like even through college, I was still like, I would even say like not liking my Asian side, and then even a few years after, like still
That
like,
whole like, if I make fun of me being Asian first, like
Yeah.
then your words can't hurt me.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of that?
that yeah, for sure. I made fun of myself a lot. I was always like girls' first Asian guy
Yeah.
dating. I was always like always all the stuff that, oh, you're like so cute, like you're like
foreign Asian.
You're so cute for an Asian guy.
Yeah.
You speak really weird.
Or
Your English is so good. You're like, yeah, thanks.
or like, oh, you're actually really white. So like, as it's a good thing,
like,
and
are you
stuff like
complimenting
that.
me?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And like,
mean?
so it was, I would say exactly that. Once it started to be more prevalent and more accepted in like media and just like everything.
In dating, do you think that you got fetishized a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I know for sure, like, some girls were like, oh my God, I like want to be with an Asian guy, and like, or like, oh, like certain stereotypes, like, you know, like aren't true, like things like that. I'm like, yeah, like, or people all shapes and sizes, like in every race, like it's all like, and like, and it just all like fetishized. I dated this one girl, white, and like, she liked that I was Korean, and I didn't realize really looking back until like that it was that being fetishized. And then like her whole family didn't want her dating me though, even though her sisters were married and had babies with black guys, which I was like, oh, they understand.
They're
but
so
like,
inclusive.
Yeah,
this is wonderful.
Yeah. But really, I guess it was just white or black to them. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they were really, looking back, I'm like, wow, I can't believe like I didn't see it, and like maybe God try to do like
that whole idea of like not all kinfolk or skinfolk or kinfolk. I guess not all people who are like cool with
everything,
or
right?
Whatever,
right.
However you want to spin that.
But yeah, that and
because Ron and I have had a couple conversations about how like during those times, especially when we were living in Philadelphia, growing up in college, like in the early 2000s. I feel like we both took pride in hearing, oh, you're our first Asian guy. Until it wasn't until later that we were like, oh. Ugh.
I always found it very interesting, the divergence in being fetishized as an Asian man versus being fetishized as an Asian woman. Like there's always this like romanticization. Oh my God.
Romanticization.
Thank you. Hi, I'm tired. With Asian men. And I think it has a lot to do with like, you know, I don't know, kung fu movies and Korean dramas and all that stuff.
I think a lot of it has to do with like representation.
Sure. That's how they're represented, or at least now, or even like the other side of it, like the, you know, emasculated Asian man, right? Those stereotypes, whatever. Fetishization as an Asian woman is very, very different and usually leads to some kind of disgusting, violent, you know, act. So I always thought that was very interesting.
But like at least Asian women, they grew up seeing that on TV being fetishized and stuff, or like movies. So like it's something that's like more front of mind. Whereas I think with Asian men, we were so used to like
not even being considered.
Yeah, not being even considered, that like when we got fetishized, we were like, oh, this feels great. Right. Because like it was just so far removed from what we thought we were portrayed as. Whereas with Asian women, it's like, oh, yep, even through the media, it's very obvious that we get fetishized, it leads to violence and being creeped out. And
do you find, Ron, that when you like are dating women, that you like when you first meet them, you'll make like the concession statements like, oh, I mean, I'm Korean, but I just want you to know that I'm X, Y, and Z. Like, just like, you know what I mean? Because like a lot of times when I was dating, I'd be like, I want you to know, like, I'm Korean, but I'm not the kind of Korean girl that is docile, and I'm not the kind of Korean girl that's gonna like follow you around 10 steps behind you. Like, I would always give these like little like caveats before, you know, I would date somebody. Do you do that? I do that. Did you do that?
I did that.
Okay, good.
I did, and like the adoption thing came up because like again, it was like where I like explained how like I am kind of like the time like I am kind of white, so like, you know, like it's not like going to be different than dating a white guy, you know, where I would do that, I think, to like, I guess, ease them into it.
Right.
And then but like with Asian girls,
set their expectation, right.
And then but then what's crazy though is like Asian girls, I didn't date Asian girls until like I guess like even a few years ago, because they like knew I was not Asian enough. So like they kind of just stayed away from me, which was like kind of weird to me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now knowing where you are now, they probably could see the internalized racism and didn't want to necessarily be a part of that.
That's true.
Is that something you're working through?
I mean,
I don't see how you couldn't.
Yeah,
we all do.
I feel like I'm good now. Like I used to be like, dang it, I don't want to be white because I get looked at this way. I get talked like I played ice hockey, and like the sportsman, like the after the game sportsman handshake thing, like I got called chink like 5 times, like every game I got called chink every game. I just knew, like even like my teammates like would count and then go after those
Instantly,
guys.
my hands get hot.
Yeah,
instantly fists.
Yeah, and even towards the end of that time, like my senior year though, I was like, I started to embrace it. I'm like, all right, screw it, because I was like bigger for my like age and stuff,
Right.
and so I was like, I got these yellow gloves, I stuck it out, and like I would just wreck kids because I was like, screw it, if I'm gonna be called a chink, yeah, I'm gonna fuck these kids up then, yeah. So like I guess where I was going with that.
It doesn't matter. It just ended you fucking
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like how internalized racism starts. It starts
self-loathing.
Because people point out the fact that you're different, and then you eventually start being like, I don't want to be different. Why can't I just be like everyone else? And then you start hating the things that like make you different, which for many people it's race, skin color, the physical appearances,
the food you eat, who your parents are, the way that your parents speak English. At least you didn't have that problem.
Yeah, actually that, and I just realized, actually since we were on the East Coast, moving out to LA, I think has helped me even a lot.
Yeah,
I bet.
That's what I was saying earlier. Location.
Yeah. I see Korean people. I love going down to Koreatown. I like look around. I'm like, oh,
look at all these Korean people.
Like even we went to Korea. It was like so eye opening to me. I was like, whoa, there's not a single, like we like kind of blend in here. Aside from looking American, like
it also probably helped that like Ron didn't stick out as much because I was there, so everyone's too busy.
Looking at his tattoos.
Because like at the time I also had like a crazy undercut and I had a full beard when I went to Korea, so I like really stood out. I looked like a gangpe. I just looked like this kid doesn't belong here. So I think it also helped Ron's experience.
Like, why can't you be more like your friend, Ron?
Look at this Korean kid.
Respectable Korean boy.
I don't even know what they're saying, You're
like, they're just pointing at you, smiling. You're like, I'll take it.
Like,
whatever,
just
man.
call me a fucking gangpe.
I'm sorry, man, but they like me. Fuck you.
But yeah, I would
jacket.
definitely say now it's way more like easier to like. I've kind of put that behind me. I like accept it. I love Korean food. Love soaking anything in Korean.
Yeah.
Love being around Asian people. Don't mind being around white people because and don't make the jokes at my own expense anymore.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, and I also date. I have an Asian girl. Well, she's half Japanese and half Chinese, which is
they had a kid.
Essentially
they'd
Korean.
be like your friend who's like all of East Asia.
Yeah. So like I've started to like after a while, getting comfortable in my own skin after like all the microaggressions and racism.
Sure.
It's still quite a journey to watch, to be honest, because I mean, even myself lost like a lot of the internalized racism when I moved back to LA, like that whole idea of like, oh, but you're basically the whitest person I know. Like those microaggressions that always used to be like, this feels racist, but everyone says I'm just overreacting.
Right. And also, I don't want to be the squeaky wheel, right? Everybody else is going to be like, God, why are you always so fucking sensitive about that shit? You're always talking about
making things about race, like that thing. So like, even I dropped that when I got here because when it started becoming more normalized. It's like, no, that was fucked up. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. I was being gaslit. I knew it. And like even
validating to know that it was not okay.
So even changing locations for me, who may have been a little bit more aware than Ron has about internalized racism, like, because like before we moved here, we talked about how like we both saw that, oh, you're the first Asian guy, like as like a badge of honor or something.
Like we're Twinkies.
Like, and I remember like Ron was like,
fight because somebody called me a Twinkie once.
Me and both Ron were like, I'm not sure, like maybe Asian girls are like not the ones that we're most attracted to, and like that completely disappeared right away. Like the food, a little bit of Korean, and it's like quite an amazing thing to see when people find community.
Right.
And find people who like don't make you feel different for being different, and instead, like embrace
your differences and help you work through stuff that you might not have even recognized or seen within yourself. And I think that's exactly kind of what you guys are talking about. I think immersing yourself into something that makes you like uncomfortable, because I would imagine there's a level of discomfort walking into a situation where you're like, I know that I'm different, but I just have to fucking jump in. There's just nothing else for me to do.
Especially when there's an expectation that you should know more because of the way you look.
Yeah.
Like, you look Korean, so you should know more Korean stuff. It's like, I was adopted.
Yeah. I used to like have to psych myself up to go to the Korean market because I'm like, everyone's going to think I'm like Korean, expect me to like speak it, like expect me to know things I'm not going to know.
I can speak as a Korean woman who has my Korean is, I'll be honest, it sucks. My Korean is terrible, only because I didn't speak it for the last, 20 years.
Yeah.
Don't use
longer,
it, you lose
30
it.
years,
yeah.
right. So I have the same anxiety. Going to Korean restaurants or going to the Korean market, I'm like, so Ajuma's going to come up and she's going to ask me all kinds of crazy shit. I'm going to be like, I know most of the words, but the order in which you said them makes me think you're not saying what I think you're saying, and now I'm really confused.
Yeah.
And I'm like nervous, and I'm just gonna walk away.
That actually happened the other day. We have a Korean water filter at our house.
So do we.
Shout out to Koei.
Yeah.
So nice.
My dad forced me. I was like,
so did my mom.
My dad's like, this is the best water. The best water you'll ever get anywhere. I'm like,
and it is really good. If you have Koei options, get it.
Quite delicious.
But I've had it for 5 years now, and they give you this machine, and it was time to change out the machine. And I was like, hey, look, if there's hot water dispensing ones, I would like to upgrade to that. So when they changed out the machine, after it was installed, and even before it was installed, the representative calls, and she's talking to me in full Korean. You know what I mean? And like, I understood most of it until she started asking me some other questions, and I was like, I'm sorry, can you say that again a little bit slower?
잠깐요.
Yeah, and then...
Fuck, I needed my Google Translate immediately.
And then there was like times when I was just like, I don't know what she's saying. I'm just going to give an answer. And then she spoke in English. I was like, oh, thank God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's tough.
But you feel so embarrassed to even say, I don't know.
Listen, the casual home Korean that we speak at my house, I've come to understand is not how Korean people talk. And I was like, well, I learned this the hard way. And that was very embarrassing.
My vocabulary is kept at like 3rd grade.
Also, my grandma, who taught me a lot of my Korean, is like country Korean.
Oh, right.
Like super country. So what's the accent?
Shigor.
Yeah, I don't, maybe.
Like Shigor
something
accent,
like that.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the words that I know would be like me being like, hey, y'all. You know what I mean?
The dialect, it's like...
Right. So people are like, oh, you're a country Korean. I'm like, I'm not that either.
But then the other thing though too is that like then, just like in English or any other language, the language evolves as time goes on. Slang. People start saying things a little differently.
How would I know any of that?
Yeah, and like people are like laughing at me. They're like, you speak like an old person. I'm like, because I learned from my grandma. She passed away like 20 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, like Tamunji, I think is what it's called now.
Yeah, Takwan.
It was Takwan. And people, I said it once and people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you called it that. I was like,
it's Japanese.
I know.
Which then made me question. I was like, where was my family on the side of the war? I was like, why do they know so much Japanese?
But that's, okay, so then not to, again, derail. So then we start finding out some shit. And I was like, wait a minute.
Whoa.
I won't get into what I've found out. We'll do a whole different episode about
I have
it.
a whole things too.
Yes. I was like, there's more Japanese in my family and in me than I knew.
Oh, mine
anyway.
I think same, but different, but yes. Another episode.
I just really have to talk with my mom and be like, are you cool with me talking about this stuff?
I think I'm past that with my mom.
So I had no idea that it was called something different, and I said it, and Koreans were fucking heckling the shit out of me, and I was like, hey, I did it. Stop it. That is mean, and now you're making me not want to eat that at all anymore, and now I'm mad at you. Fuck you guys.
You used the wrong there, so I feel better now.
They're like, what did you call it? I was like,
Takwan.
Yellow radish is what I called it. Fuck you.
Like, I didn't find out until a year ago that Korean people use sesame oil in kimbap.
We never had it that way. I always had the sushi rice.
Yeah, the sushi noko.
I know.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I can't wait for that episode. That's gonna be a crazy one.
We better learn some Japanese. Well, okay, so a lot of what we do on this show, and a lot of people who listen to this show, there are a lot of younger people, right? If you could give advice to a transracial adoptee who's maybe younger, like teenage years or things like that, is there anything that you would think of to say to them to help ease them in their situation or like make it seem, I don't know, easier? Because I'm sure it comes with so much stuff and like so much stuff that nobody knows about. So nobody like talks about it, you know? So like, is there anything that you would say to them to help them feel more, I don't know.
Especially having been on the journey you've been
less isolated.
Yeah.
Well, one, if they can see this, I would let them know like they're not alone. Cause like back to whole, like where do you fit in? Like I didn't have anyone to talk to about it except for my adopted friend who like, he was even more or less caring about me. So like I had no one to talk about. My sister was like sometimes just off the rails, like crazy. So like I just felt so alone. Like no one understands me. No one gets it. Like like there are people that do understand you if you like, especially I wish I had the internet, like maybe going to like, I don't know, back in the day, if I would have had it, like going to AIM AOL chat rooms of like adopted people, but you can go like on maybe Reddit feeds and like find people, but like I would just kind of like do your research and look things up, and like if something like piques, like if you like find yourself pushing something away, maybe stop and be like, why am I doing that? Because like if I would have stopped and been like, why am I pushing this away? Oh, it's because everyone I know is like looking down on Asians is different. So like, I don't want to be different. I want to stick out. Like maybe like stop yourself, look it up and think like why, and then maybe like look into it and like realize that like maybe, I know it's like not as easy for everyone to like just reach out or like find people that like might understand, but like just kind of, I don't know, look around, research. Yeah. Like, and like maybe embrace your culture. If you don't have like a market, I know there's like some online places that still deliver like Korean food, like look it up and like try it out and like just embrace as much as you can, really, I would think, and learn as much as you can. Like we went in Korea, like I know again, everyone won't be able to just jump to Korea. But it was different times for us too. We're poor now, but we like went to Korea and like I saw the temples and like it was like so mind blowing. Like then like look into the history and like just look it all up, because like it was really like eye opening for me. Like I was like, wow, like that's amazing. Like I feel like more connected because like I'm seeing like where I come from, like and all this different stuff. So I guess really, yeah, just do research, look it up. Try to find people that maybe can relate.
That's, I think, the thing is I think in everyone's journey, the thing that we all hope to find out is that we're not alone. Yeah. And that there are other people who have experienced similar things and can relate and understand. Like, I think that's humanity as a whole. I think that's all we all want is like, I want people to know that I see them, but I also want to be seen by them and know that we're not just out there in the fucking stratosphere floating around just with nowhere to go.
Around,
literally just flopping around trying to, figure out what the fuck we're doing and where the fuck to go. It's got to be so hard. And I think, having people like Ron and having people, come out and talk about it and say like, we're not as different. As we all think, we just have to find what those common threads are and share our stories. I think that's, so I'm really grateful that you came today, because I think that's
having me on this side.
Yeah, and it's like really important that you find your community, because I think part of the reason why me and Ron connected so well was like, even though I'm not transracial or he wasn't raised Asian American by an Asian family, we had a lot of similarities that we like tried to go on this similar journey on together, so like we related it a lot. So just like, it's very important that you find people in your community, but they don't have to be in your exact situation. You just need to find someone who like will make it less daunting to go to a restaurant from your culture together, or like to go travel, look up history together.
I think I think even like having friends that are aware, because even like people like it's like always comes out in little things like, oh, my mom has this, so I'm probably going to get this. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen to me. So it's like it's like if you have like friends that are very hyper aware, I'm not saying it's easy to find, but like they like will understand like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that because like I'm going to like make them feel uncomfortable. I'm not saying like you should be babied, but like there's just a lot like common things like that where like just don't talk about if it's just like not brought up, or like realize not to bring it up, like they won't feel different like every other sentence,
right. So much to think about.
Find your people, because if you don't feel good about yourself, it's the people around you, whether it's your friends, the community, whatever it is, they're not making you feel good because they're either making you feel different or whatever.
Right. I think also though, there's something to say that I think is important, that if you don't want to, that's okay too.
It is.
If you don't want to, that's okay too. I think, but you have to just get good with you not wanting to and letting those who do what they want to do. Because I think a lot of people who reject their culture or reject their identity or reject the idea that they want to learn more about it, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
But I find that those people really push hard against the people who do.
Yes.
So I think that, or at least that's been my experience with seeing people who like, interact with.
As long as you don't pass over to like the Candace Owens side, like that's fine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
don't give other people shit.
Yeah.
For shit that you don't feel or see. Let them have their own experience. And I think that's maybe something to take away from.
And
this
I feel
too.
like that's the way with Ron's sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know that she necessarily has found her Asian community yet. I don't know if she wants to.
Right.
But she doesn't shit on it.
Right.
On people for
And
it.
I
You
think
know what I mean? And in fact, she like, I know that she watches like my content where I make Korean food and stuff, and like she loves that stuff. So like,
Wait,
it
does she
doesn't
follow me
have
too? I'm just kidding.
awkward. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, like it doesn't have to be so immersive. It could be at whatever your comfort level is.
Right.
But from my personal experience, and as many of the people that I talk to, just, you know, not Asian American or whatever, it does make your life a little bit easier when you can learn to accept and understand.
Right. I agree. Well, thanks again, Ron.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for always being such a astute producer as well, and for doing such a good job with everything that you have to do behind the. Because honestly, like what we do up here, I feel like is easy. The way you have to run around seems less easy.
Yeah, true.
So,
don't blame any mess ups on them. It's all me that's messing anything
Sometimes
up.
it's messy.
Sound
Sometimes
or weird
I'll take
cuts.
some heat for that
It's me.
too. Thank you, Ron, though, for everything.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, but thank you all again. Please make sure you follow us on our socials. If you want to follow Ron, you can find him at.
Don't follow me.
Okay. Thank you.
Retake.
Well, thank you again for joining us. Hope you got a lot out of this conversation like we did. Please make sure you follow us on our socials. You can find Sujia at...
Sujia1 on TikTok and Instagram.
Sorry, her name's Susie. You can find me at Etch a Sketch with a J on everything, and you can find the podcast at What in the Shibal. That's Shibal. Also, please write into us with any stories, feedback, whatever.
Or if you have questions for Ron, Ron reads those too. So
yes,
I'm
Ron
sure
actually reads them first.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, make sure you write into us at What in the Shibal. That's Shibal at gmail.com. Otherwise, thank you. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.
I got nothing. Ding.
Ding. Also, as of this week, we have set up a Patreon. So if you want to be able to please support our podcast so we can keep going, because
do it. This shit's not cheap.
It's not cheap. For instance, like we could use more new arm rails because these.
Do you want to see this every time? We don't.
But either way, we have set up a Patreon. We're still working out the couple of kinks, but there are going to be 2 different tiers. We're going to roll out a lot of other features and, goodies for you guys to get
behind
as
the
well.
scenes,
behind the scenes, some live footage and things like that. But number one, we want you to be able to get some credit helping us produce this show as producers. So the first tier is going to allow you to be one level of producer, and then the higher tier is going to allow you to have another tier producers, and they're all going to be shown on every episode. And
fun.
We may even read some of them out. We don't know yet. But either way, we would really appreciate if you do get enjoyment out of this, if you've taken anything from us, if you wouldn't mind supporting us, we would greatly appreciate it.
So greatly. Okay.
Otherwise, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.
Ron, you have to do it too.
Okay, wait. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.
See, you're officially Korean now. That was it. That was your rite of passage.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good job, Ron. That was awesome.
Ron thought he was going to get away with it. He's like, I don't have to make that ridiculous face and say
Yes.
Nope. Yes, you do.
Everybody who's on the show has to do it.
And even though
If we're going to make the Korean vegan do it, you're fucking doing it.